This is BBC Radio 2.
On BBC Sounds.
And on your smart speaker.
Play BBC Radio 2.
BBC News at 9 o'clock on Sunday the 4th of June. Good morning, this is Harvey Cook. Counting the costs of the government's plans to deal with illegal migrants. Indian train crash investigators focus on signalling issues, and rowers set off on Round Britain record bid. The BBC understands that the cost of detaining and deporting people arriving in the UK on small boats could reach £6 billion during the next 2 years. The illegal migration bill, which is currently going through Parliament, would give ministers new powers to remove anyone arriving in the UK illegally and stop them claiming asylum here. Rob McNeill is the Deputy Director of the Migration Observatory at the University of Oxford.
The costs are fundamentally linked to the need to extend and increase the size of the UK's detention estate in order to accommodate the number of people that would potentially have to be looked after. Then it's the cost of actually accommodating those people, providing them with food and healthcare and all the other things. And then potentially also the cost associated with paying other countries to process claims as well.
Investigators trying to establish what caused India's worst rail crash this century are believed to be focusing on a signalling problem. 288 people are so far known to have died in the disaster in the state of Odisha. About 900 people were injured. Nani Gopal Warwick, who was taken to a nearby hospital after the crash, spoke with horror of what happened.
When the accident occurred, we realised that there was a fire. When it caught fire, nobody could escape. Some did manage to get out, some were able to run out of the carriage, but the train had fallen over another train.
A 2-year-old girl has died after a Russian airstrike on the Ukrainian city of Dnipro. 22 people, including 5 children, were injured, with others still feared trapped in a collapsed residential building. The attack comes as Russian officials in Crimea say they shot down a Ukrainian drone over the peninsula. The Cabinet Office has warned Boris Johnson that he could lose public funding for his legal representation at the COVID inquiry if he deliberately undermines the government. In extracts of a letter published by the Sunday Times, Mr Johnson is told that he will have to submit any statements to officials so redactions can be applied. Our political correspondent Helen Catt has more details.
The paper quotes a paragraph in the letter which said funding would cease to be available to Mr Johnson if he knowingly sought to frustrate or undermine the government's position in relation to the inquiry, unless there was a clear and irreconcilable conflict of interest on a particular point at issue. It also says the letter told him he must check any evidence or statement he intends to provide with the government for security purposes and apply any redactions it says are necessary. The Cabinet Office confirmed the letter had been sent, but a spokesperson said it in no way prevented Mr Johnson from providing whatever evidence he wanted to.
Thousands of police have been deployed across Hong Kong to ensure no vigils are held to mark the anniversary of the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre in Beijing. 8 people have been detained. Here's our Asia-Pacific editor, Celia Hatton.
Any commemoration of the Tiananmen Square crackdown has long been banned on China's mainland. It's also been outlawed in the Chinese territory of Hong Kong ever since the imposition of a national security law there. In response, Chinese communities in dozens of cities around the world are holding their own vigils. Many involved also hope the vigils will carry the torch for a once vibrant civil society and political community in Hong Kong that has now largely fallen silent.
A respected mountaineering guide has expressed concern about the increasing number of deaths among people climbing Mount Everest. 12 people have died this year, another 5 are missing. The New Zealander Guy Cotter says those undertaking the challenge should meet minimum standards and have scaled other high peaks. 6 women will set off from London this afternoon to try to break the record for rowing unassisted around Great Britain. The women, who range in age from 29 to 53, will row continuously in 2-hour shifts. Equipment on the boat will take samples and readings as it moves to help map water pollution. Emma Wolstenholme describes the living conditions for their 2,000-mile journey.
We get freeze-dried food, so it's nice and light. Add boiling hot water there, that's our cooker. The shower is a wet wipe and the toilet is a bucket.
A UK ticket holder has come forward to claim nearly £112 million in jackpot winnings from Friday's Euro Millions draw. The lottery operator Camelot says the claim will now go through a process of validation. And Sunday's weather, well, rather cloudy across the far north of Scotland. Elsewhere, though, dry, warm and sunny, although to feel rather chillier along eastern coasts. Highs of 18 Celsius in Edinburgh, 22 in London and Belfast and 23 in Cardiff. That's the BBC News at 9:05.
Thank you. It is. Hello, good morning.
Steve Wright, Sunday Love Song.
Yes, welcome to Love Song.